Welcome to the Business Spotlight podcast. My name is Kay Cote, and I am your host for today's episode. And today I have Beth McDaniel, president of Reactive Surfaces, to be my guest. We're going to be talking about her and her husband's business, their business leadership and journey to business, the challenges that they faced along the way, and some things that they've got in store for the future to give you that inside look to what it's like to run and operate a business. If this is your first time on our channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notified when we drop episodes like this. Welcome, Beth. It's so great to meet you. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Kay. I'm glad to be here.
Of course. Well, before we dive into all things business, I'd love to learn a little bit about you. Can you share a bit about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in Houston. My dad was a chemist, and I ended up marrying a biochemist. So there you go. That's what they say, right? I went to University of Texas, and then I went back to Houston and worked for a while, and then I went to law school late in my 20s, in Houston as well. And then I ended up in Austin, after that.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, what brought you to Austin? I'm always curious.
So I had gotten done with law school, and I had passed the bar. And actually, my brother called me up. My brother is a serial entrepreneur and was heavy into real estate at the time. And he calls me up, and it's like January. I just passed the bar in December. This is back in the 1900s. Okay. Um, and my brother calls me up and he said, "Hey, I got this land under contract. It's on Lake Travis. It's Austin." He said, there's a I need a few permits from like this local jurisdiction. Why don't you come and help me with this?" And of course, I had no prospects at the time. And I was just a few weeks out of my law degree. And so I I said, "Sure, I'll go over there." He said, "I think it'll take just a few weeks." And so I go over to Austin. It was actually in Jonestown, Texas. And it was and I helped him get some of these permits. And about 8 years later, we finished the project. And it was a big success, but it was not a 3-week project.
I love the story. Well, congrats on getting through that process. And now you're calling Austin home.
Uh-huh.
And so what
I
happened?
didn't have to go out and find a law job either.
Right? It works out. Ended up working out. So, okay, so what happened either after that process or during that process, when did you and your husband decide to kind of launch the
Right.
business?
Yeah, so he hadn't appeared at that time. So that was about when I was finishing off this family business where we developed land in about 300 acres of land on Lake Travis. And we did eventually, it was a good success, and we made a lot of money, but we had to hold out, for a lot longer than we ever thought. So we had to use some creative planning, and none of us had built even a tree house before. So we weren't building houses at the time we were developing the land, but we certainly hadn't laid sewer pipe either, and water pipe and things of that nature either. So we were just cutting our teeth on that. And but it ended up okay. It ended up very well. And and then following that, I was working as a lawyer for another one of my brother's companies. Just in-house counsel is the kind of law work that I've always done. Which is more like business with a little bit of an edge and the ability to read through contracts pretty quickly and know what they mean. Um, and negotiate them, of course. There's more to it than that. I don't, but so then my brother's company actually needed an IP lawyer because someone had taken something of had stolen some IP and was using it without authority. And I was seeking out, as his in-house counsel, I was seeking out someone like that. And well, I ran into my husband, and that's what he was doing. He was an IP litigator. And so, and not, you know, bad on the eyes either. And I was just like, "You're hired. I need you." So that's, yeah, I've got some advice. That's my advice is actually, if you see a guy that you like and you're single, then go ahead and hire him and get him on the payroll. Um, sorry, I'm just being facetious. but it did happen that way with me. Uh, and then, so it was his business that we're probably going to talk about a little bit more that I became involved in. And he's an innovator. He's kind of crazy science guy, actually. And when I say crazy, I mean brilliant. All right. And so he's innovated. Do you want me to go on with where I am now? This company that we started 20 something years ago. Okay. So like in 2002,
Okay.
we started a company called Reactive Surfaces. And what that is it's a biotech company, and it is the merger of two scientific disciplines, which are biotechnology, using biomolecules, things like enzymes and peptides, in combination with paints and coatings, a material. Okay. And why would you do that? Well, historically, paints and coatings are used on surfaces to either protect that surface or to add color. And what this does is we harness nature's functionality, things like enzymes and peptides that are already doing something in nature all around you right now. They're naturally non-toxic because they ain't killing you yet. No, they're not killing anybody. These are things that are just naturally non-toxic, but have a functionality. We put those into a paint or a coating system and ask it to do the same thing in that system on a surface when that coating system dries. So we have things like antimicrobial surfaces now and
Mm.
self-cleaning surfaces using non-toxic biomolecules as that functionality. So
Oh,
that's what
wow.
Reactive Surfaces does.
Oh, that's incredible. And I've seen some of those like at different gyms and places. I've been noticing these like enzyme or these surfaces that are self-cleaning. I've been seeing where it says it on the surface. And I thought, what is that? So I'm actually really excited to geek out about what this actually is. Oh, so you started in 2002
Uh-huh.
and you launched the company. And like, what was that like? Like, what was that aha moment when like y'all decided to do that?
Well, okay, so it was my husband's, and what it was 9/11. Okay, and what happened in 9/11 was, of course, everyone knows what happened, but there was also this buildup, you probably remember it, about weapons of mass destruction. Everyone was talking about weapons of mass destruction, okay? That includes things like nuclear and like chemical weapons and biological weapons. Okay, well, chemical weapons are they happen to be similar to pesticides. And my husband had worked when in his PhD at A&M, he had worked on pesticides, trying to like clone a gene for an enzyme that would detoxify these kinds of pesticides that cause like birth defects and those kind of things. Okay. And so he was, and he did a paper on it or whatever. So after 9/11, when everyone was freaked out about weapons of mass destruction, someone came to him and said, can you really do this and that? And the answer is yes, if it's on a surface, because chemical weapons are actually not airborne completely. They're actually little tiny droplets that will land on a surface. And that will
Mm,
make that whole property, whatever it is, completely toxified and deadly, so no one can ever use it again. Okay.
mm, mhm.
uh, and a little tiny bit of it will kill a person, whether they breathe it in or touch it on a surface. And he said, if you could put it on surfaces though, then yeah, if you could put it in a paint. And they were like, can you do that? And he said, I don't know. And that's where our company started, because that guy was a money guy. And he said, what if I raise the money to do that? And that's what he did. And so that's what
Wow.
we did. And we still have that technology. And
That's so
the thing
cool.
about pesticides is they're the same as chemical makeup, very similar as chemical weapons used in battlefields, used by terrorists. And if you were to be sitting where you are, Kay, right now in that room, and the surfaces were covered with that coating system that we have, even though a little tiny bit, like on the end of your finger, would kill you, 24 hours, you could eat off that table in front of you if you had that coating on it. So these enzymes are extremely efficient at what they do.
Wow, that's incredible, especially that they're natural too, because I've heard of enzymes and peptides and things like that for like skincare. I mean, I've heard of it more
Mhm.
on that end of things, but to
Yeah,
go for,
definitely.
for other surfaces is really intriguing. So I
Mhm.
kind of want to take it back to focus on like the parts of the business. Like, so you guys got up and running. Now, what does that look like today? And do you have employees in that business? And if so, how many employees do you have?
Yeah. So our business is purely on the innovation side. We're not manufacturing paints and coatings. We work with manufacturers, et cetera, but we're not manufacturing paints and coatings. So ours is kind of small on the smaller end, but I guess we probably have 20 to 25 employees if I count them out right now. And we have 3 locations. So we are based in Austin, Texas, because that's where we live. And then but we set up a lab years ago in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and everyone's probably wondering, well, why?
I was just gonna ask.
And the reason is because we are working in tandem with the university there called the University of Southern Mississippi, which has the premier paint and polymer department in in all the universities in the country, really. I mean, so they're the go-to for the Sherwin-Williams, et cetera, that when they have a problem with their paint. So anyway, we've had our lab alongside that university in one of their accelerators for years. And so we have a full set of employees there. And then we also have, well, we haven't gotten into this, but another innovation of ours is a climate change solution, a carbon dioxide removal solution. And we're scaling that right now from the lab to show that we can do this in the field, that we can use these surfaces, these special surfaces to actually capture CO2, ambient CO2 or CO2 from like an industrial emitter. And we are doing that in the field now. We've come out of the lab and we're doing that in the field. And that pilot facility is in Northern California, Tracy.
Okay. Oh, awesome. That's a great place to do it too, I could imagine. Um,
Algae.
yeah, okay. So just taking a couple notes. And okay, so you got the 20 to 25 employees now, and you're growing. Now, how are you like who would be your ideal client or customer? Like if you're because you're doing the innovation side. So yeah, how would that look like for like if I were to walk in your doors or check you out online, how would I know I'd be the right client for you?
Yeah. So this is mostly business to business. Okay. So in a lot of cases, what happens is a Sherwin-Williams or a PPG or someone else that manufacturer of coating systems will come to us and say, hey, we want a non-tac, not, excuse me, antimicrobial or antiviral coating that's non-toxic, that's used on this particular surface and has these specifications. Okay. And then it gets real sciencey after that in our labs. And a lot of scientists are working on it. And the business model is that research is paid to us, but there's no
Okay.
transfer of intellectual property at that point. It's just we can't fund that ourselves. That would have to be paid by someone who wanted to know the answer to that. In all cases that we've been in this company, we've come up with a coding system that works according to the specifications. And so these molecules just work very well in coding systems, and that's what we know how to do. That's the art of what we do. But at that point, once we've developed that coding system for that client to the point that it could be shelf ready, like they could go manufacture that, they've got the recipe, they can go manufacture it, they can distribute it through their channels, they can put it on their shelves or whatever, then at that point they have an opportunity to license that from us, to
Mm,
license that technology.
okay.
And that's when we get things like, if you want to know more about the business model, like an upfront license fee. Okay.
Okay.
And then royalties every time something is sold that's utilizing our technology.
Oh, that's an incredible business model.
Then, yeah, so then mailbox money. That's what we're talking about.
Actually, it's the way to go. Um, I'm just taking some notes again. Okay, so how are you marketing yourself? Like that's my next question is like you have these great clients. How are you marketing and speaking to your audience?
Well, it's not our strong suit, frankly, Kay, because we're on the science end a lot more than we are, and we're not marketing to you personally, I mean, and sometimes we're just trying to create the market. For instance, with our climate change technology, that's just something that came up that we felt passionate about, and we did that on our own. No one hired us to do that.
Mhm.
And so the marketing that we do is really kind of along the spectrum of our innovation development, which is more like when you, um, so when you innovate something, then you want to protect it. Okay. And my husband happens to be a patent lawyer. So anyway, at an early stage, you start that protection, whatever that protection might be. It might be a patent application, it might be a variety of things, but you start your IP protection. And then when you feel like it's protected, then you publish, because publishing is something that, academics and people in the scientific fields look to validate, what's going on and what they're seeing, and to make sure that, it is what it says it is. And so then publishing becomes kind of your marketing to that field. And then advertising and marketing, I mean, we focus on the coatings companies, we market to the coatings companies and through their associations. And we write a lot of articles in their journals. And I
Mhm.
do international articles. A lot of the climate change technology stuff is on an international basis, and because everyone is justifiably worried about it.
Definitely, definitely. I feel like that is huge. So you had mentioned that marketing is a struggle for you. Can you dive into what you mean by that? Because we love to cover challenges and things that people are going through to
Yeah.
help work through those things.
Well, I mean, so in the innovation business, I mean, we're not selling a widget, okay? And so we don't have the same kind of cost basis, and also we are, it's an intangible.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a lawyer too, and that's intangible, and so people don't like to pay for intangible things. And most people, and when I say people, what I really mean is mostly companies that could do it, unfortunately, are not forward thinking. And some of them are leaving a lot of good innovation on the table. And you know who pays the price, right? You and me. The consumer pays the price of that, of
Mm-hmm.
it not moving forward. And it could, you know. Challenges include things, and so some of these move forward, and some of them for reasons unknown to us, not because the technology didn't work to their specifications, but for reasons they don't license it. Okay, and they don't bring it to market. And so sometimes that doesn't work. And so marketing, yeah, we probably could do better, but it's not your standard kind of marketing. We try to do it more like just through, you know, global campaigns and stuff like that, like emails and through associations that get the word out. It's probably not a very good answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, that was a great answer. It sounds like, if you're focusing on the marketing, there's like a creative solution around it because it is a unique situation rather than like having a like product to sell or even the paint itself, where
Right.
that's more like a marketable thing. You have that you're marketing intellectual property and ideas and solutions that aren't
Right.
out there yet, but they could be. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense.
I mean, if you knew that it was available, then you would probably want antiviral surfaces after our pandemic, right? If you could choose a coating that had an antiviral effect and was not toxic in any way, you'd probably choose that over a regular surface. But if you don't know that it's out there, then you don't ask for it necessarily. And so that's where we lie, is there's a lot of consumer demand that's not being demanded because they don't know it's out there. And it's kind of up to us to like educate everyone, hey, you should have new expectations of what your coding system should do for you, how they should react to you. But that's
Definitely.
the harder sell. Then you have to
Yeah,
open, people's minds, not just
definitely.
their thoughts.
Yeah, I'm even trying to think of things on the call, like creatively how to solutionize for that. Um, but yeah, looking at as you're moving forward with the business too, as you're growing, where would you like to be here, say in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, okay, so in the next 3 to 5 years, I mean, innovation is kind of a home run thing, okay? It's not just like plugging away. It's either, it's going to be a home run or probably a grand slam. And so 3 to 5 years from now, and because we care so deeply about some of these issues that these solutions will really provide some relief on, especially climate change, and especially like the spread of pandemic. If climate change is our Earth's biggest problem, spread of pandemic might be our humanity's biggest problem.
Mhm.
And so anyway, we feel strongly and deeply about making these types of technologies available to the general public and where they can be used, you know, um, to the betterment of everybody. And but if it is, then then that's a grand slam. So that's where we hope to be and expect to be in the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I absolutely love that. This again, I could talk to you probably for another hour because this is
Likewise.
so intriguing, especially as you look at the solutions that you're providing. And but now I'd like to dive into our rapid fire Q&A, which is I
Uh-huh.
ask you 4 questions and you answer very top of mind.
Okay, I'll do my best.
You'll do great. It's super fun.
Uh-huh.
So Beth, question number one is what is a piece of advice that you would give to other business owners?
I would say if you're passionate about what you're doing, then don't let no be the end of it. Don't let someone telling you no be the end of it. Just find another way.
Definitely. I agree with you there. There's always a way around things. And question number two is what is a key to success for you?
Having passion in what I do, or otherwise I don't put the time into it.
Truth. Number three is it could be a book you've read, a podcast you've listened to, just anything that's really resonated with you recently.
Um, I love some of the PBS weather shows, and I'm inundated. All I ever allow myself to listen to is really climate change stuff, because I just want to stay on top of everything. But PBS has a show called Weathered, and I think it's fantastic, and it's really on top of things. And so, yeah, climate change stuff.
Definitely. And the fourth question is if you could wave a magic wand and overnight improve one aspect of your business, what would it be?
I think you hit on it. I think we need more of a sales effort outside of just our technology. We need, so maybe more effort in sales, not marketing, but sales.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for answering those rapid fire questions. Let's help get people to find you. So we'll start that process right now. How can people find you and connect with you online?
Well, we have a website, reactivesurfaces.com. And that's surfaces like the surfaces of your table, not services, which is something that I always have to explain. Reactivesurfaces.com. And then you'll find all the different technology platforms that we work within. I'm on like LinkedIn and yeah, Instagram. We have Instagram, Facebook.
Wonderful. Well, happy to connect with you and stay connected with you. And before we wrap up for the day, I have one final question for you. And this one take as much time as you'd like. It's what is most inspiring to you today?
That is most inspiring. Well, I'm really inspired by young people that are kind of taking on things. Well, I mean, I focus so much on climate change, so I'm just going to focus in on that. Okay. And so in my world, in my small world, and I would say people who are, what I'm seeing in young people is they care about climate change, and it really doesn't matter their political um, affiliation. They still care about it because they're of the right of mind, because they're logical. And I just think they're smart. I think they're better than we were. And so I'm inspired by the youth. And I feel responsible. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and we literally used to throw trash out of the car. Okay. I mean, it was terrible. And I just feel like I owe it to this generation and all the next generations, to put in everything we have into making this world, a safe place to exist on. And with climate change, we're pushing it.
Oh, wow. Well, that inspired me. I also absolutely loved our conversation today. Thank you for sharing about your business and sharing about the work you're doing.
Thank you, Kay. I enjoyed it.